Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to the Virtual 143. We're back with you. Another episode of Under Review.
Yep, here it is again. Another depressing week for us Cowboys fans. This one was even more of a heartbreaker than last week. Lose on a game-winning field goal. That's just truly crushing.
I mean, I think we did it to ourselves, as we'll talk about here in a second. The game should not have been that close, and we'll have a lot to discuss on the Cowboys and how much we love being the 5 seed at the end of the season every year, it seems like, here in a second. We'll go with the stat of the week, brought to you by Andrews Logistics. A couple of interesting things happened in the week of football, a couple of upsets, one of which being the Raiders beating the Chiefs at home on Christmas Day. The stat is that the quarterback for the Raiders, Aiden O'Connell, did not complete a single pass after the first quarter was completed, but they still won the game. This is the first time that that's happened since 2000, which was 23 years ago, obviously almost 24. And didn't complete a single pass after the first quarter. For all you Devonta Adams fantasy owners, I know that was frustrating because I was one of them. But thank you, Aiden O'Connell, for ruining Christmas, being the Grinch, I guess.
Yeah,
that's your
2
stat.
Defensive touchdowns for the Raiders. Not really known to have that great of a defense, but
it was kind of handed to them. Those two.
They pulled through on Saturday, or I'm sorry, not Saturday, on Monday. So that was it was pretty interesting to watch. You know, obviously everyone was expecting the Chiefs to, destroy the Raiders at home. Yep. I mean, I don't know what happened there.
Well, you would think when the quarterback only has 62 passing yards at the end of the game, you wouldn't think they'd be the
You would expect to win that game 100 times out of 100.
Yeah, it's just a weird game, and it's been a weird year in the NFL. A weird week, but that's your stat of the week.
Your player of the week is Amari Cooper. Put up an absolutely disgusting line. 11 catches, 265 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I mean,
man,
that's just crazy. The Browns have only gotten hotter as the weeks go by. It seems like, Joe Flacco is just...
Joe Flacco.
He's showing out. Like, I don't know. There's really no other way to put it.
He's been out of the league for 3 years, and he felt disrespected that nobody called him. But it was with good reason that they didn't at the time. But he's coming out and he's just lighting it up. And this whole Browns team it's looking scary with the defense that they have. All they needed was a quarterback.
Their offense
and Deshaun Watson wasn't doing it.
Way better with Flacco than it was with Watson. But obviously, Watson got his humongous bag and did not live up to any of the potential, and then ends up getting injured. And Joe Flacco comes in and says, "Hey, let me lead this team to success." And a playoff berth very well.
All I'm saying is every win, he gets $75,000 and added to, his bonus. And so that's helping him, I think, fuel him a little bit. And also that man is going to get paid after this season. So happy for Joe Flacco. He's been around a really long time, but it's really cool to see that he's being successful. The Browns are looking scary. I think right now they've got the 5 seed in the AFC, and I mean, it's looking like they'll probably have the 5 seed, I would bet, at the end of the season. So congrats to Amari, though. Former Cowboy, man, just tore it up against the
it's unfortunate to watch because we traded Amari Cooper away, but then we re-signed Michael Gallup in the same offseason. And so that's what's really frustrating to watch, is because it's just I fail to see the logic there, and it's just looking worse and worse every single day. Amari Cooper putting up, I mean, he's doing that.
That's
with
history.
Joe
what he
Flacco.
Just did. That's actually historic.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. So, anyways, congrats to him. Let's talk about the Cowboys. So, we needed this win for confidence that we could win on the road, and we didn't get the win. Started out really hot. First quarter, CeeDee Lamb, 4 receptions, 93 yards in the first quarter alone. We were looking like the old Cowboys from 2 weeks ago before the Bills came, and we were just torching teams. And we knew coming into this game that with the Dolphins being a super hot offensive team, that the name of the game is just going to be you got to score more points. You can't rely on the defense. They've got so many weapons over there. And so we came out of the gate, dropped the ball on the 1 yard line. We were trying to push it in. Hunter Lipke fumbled on the one, and honestly, that touchdown really came back to bite us. But came back, scored a touchdown with CeeDee Lamb. We're looking really good, and then we just stopped throwing for some reason.
We had 2 3-and-outs offensively, and that's just for how good this offense has been, for how good Dak's been playing, to have CeeDee and Brandon Cooks playing at the level that they are, and Jake Ferguson really stepping up in recent weeks. There's no reason to go 3-and-out. Like to me, that's just unacceptable.
I don't think CeeDee got a single. I know he didn't get a single reception in the second or third quarter. I'm not sure he even got a target in the second or third quarter. That's unacceptable. When a receiver has 93 yards and your star receiver has 93 yards in the first quarter, you do nothing but keep feeding him. That's what the Browns did with Amari Cooper. That's why he had 200-something yards. So CeeDee was looking to be on pace. I mean, 93 in the first quarter, he's technically on pace for like 360 yards for the game. And we just stopped throwing the ball to him. And we started running. And I think Tony Pollard's showing that he's not the back that we need, because he couldn't even push it in from the 1 yard line, which is sad.
No, speaking of Cowboys offseason moves, it's looking like it was a good idea, excuse me, for what we did with Tony Pollard, because I don't know what we do with him, because he's not looking like a long-term back to me. This was supposed to be a breakout season for him because he was really, really good last year in the running back 2 position, but now that he has the running back 1 position, everyone was expecting him to do big things, and he's been pretty bad, honestly.
He hasn't lived up to any expectations. Honestly, Zeke's doing better than him right now in New England, and Zeke's performing better than Tony. Hurdling dudes while Tony can't get it in from the 1 yard line. I think the thing with running backs right now, what we got to do is just keep cycling. It's just showing that running backs in this league are pretty expendable, and that with a good O-line, any running back is pretty good. Obviously, you have C-Mac, who's like exceptional. Derrick Henry is pretty good, but like for the most part, running backs, I think we can, get for the minimum. And Tony Pollard, I'm glad we franchised him and didn't actually sign him to a long-term deal, because I think he's done after this season unless he comes back for a lot less.
At the time, I was pretty skeptical, but looking at it now after 16 weeks, it's like, hey, it's a great move. Glad we did that.
What I will say is everyone's kind of, obviously when the Cowboys lose, everyone overreacts. It's like the same old Cowboys, blah, 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 blah. I think if we're going to lose like we've done the last 2 weeks, we might as well do it now, because we need to figure it out come playoff time. So, we're seeing what we need to work on. We have 2 more weeks to kind of get that in check. Obviously, with that loss and the Eagles win, we really need the Eagles to lose another game. Doesn't seem probable to get the division. So, we're just probably going to be a 5 seed.
There's a little tiny smidge of hope, because, for how bad the Giants are, they did come close to taking it to them in Philly.
Exactly.
It still somehow came down to the very end of the game. So maybe there's hope there that, the Giants could ruin all of the Eagles' hopes and dreams week 18 when they play at MetLife. I don't know.
What I saw from a terrible Giants team is that they could beat the Eagles. So here's the thing. I don't care. Honestly, I'd love a home playoff game. I don't care. If we play Philly in the playoffs, I don't care where it is. It could be here. It could be there. We're going to kill them. Okay? Because the Eagles are the biggest phonies in the NFL right now. All right? Their record does not reflect their skill level. It's been shown that they are, any playoff team. Okay? Right now, we have San Francisco beat the Eagles. We have the Eagles, and then we have the Lions. They could smash the Eagles. We have us, who's beaten the Eagles. Okay? And then we have the Buccaneers. I think they could beat the Eagles. The Rams could beat the Eagles, and the Seahawks have beaten the Eagles. I don't think there's a single NFC playoff team right now who's scared of playing the Eagles. I mean, you can't push all the way down the field. So, like, they're just showing that's all they're good
I wouldn't be either. When you're playing the Giants, the 5-9 Giants, who are now 5-10, like, you should be winning that game by at least 30 points. Winning 25 to 33 is not impressive at all. At home, of all things.
Yeah, and so I just think, like, I don't think it's impossible for the Cardinals or Giants to beat the Eagles, but I'm just saying no matter what happens in the playoffs, nobody's scared of the Eagles right now, which was unlike last season. Everyone was pretty scared to play the Eagles. And so like I said, if we end up playing the Eagles, I don't see us losing that game because, one, our guys hate the Eagles, and two, like, they are so beatable, and we've already done it. We've already killed the Eagles, and we should have smashed them before. So
in Dallas, we should have beat them in Philly. I mean,
and it doesn't matter where we play.
We really beat ourselves in Philly. That's what it came down to.
This home and away narrative is really killing me with the Cowboys. Like, honestly, yeah, our road record's pretty bad. Our home record's really good. All right. But come playoff time, it doesn't matter where you are. Like, you have to be ready to win. And they're professional football players. They're not college. This is not college. You don't have to play at home. I think they'll be fine. I don't think that Mike McCarthy is a terrible play caller. I don't think that Dak is the same old Dak necessarily. I think we've seen enough this year to know that they're different. And, like, obviously Dak will get an extension. I think Mike will get an extension at the end of the season from what we've already seen.
Everyone's just so skeptical. Things changing week to week. It's like, you're seeing it with Brock Purdy as well, throwing 4 interceptions
exactly
on Christmas Day, having, I guess, the most abysmal performance of his career in the NFL. And everyone's overreacting, saying, oh, yeah, he really is a system QB. He's trash, Mr. Irrelevant, showing his true colors, blah, 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 whatever that is. And it's like, okay, he's played one bad game in, like, the 30 that he's played in the NFL. So he'll be fine. Everyone on the team believes in him. Kyle Shanahan believes in him. He just had a bad
Why
week.
Wouldn't you? That's all he's been doing is killing teams. Pick up and recover
next week.
He smoked us. He smoked the Eagles. Like, he smoked teams, all right? The Ravens are hot right now. They're a good football team, and they're the best team in the AFC right now. It's not even close.
Everyone was saying this was like Super Bowl preview.
And it very well could
Ravens
be.
For it. It could be. So, I think the 49ers and Brock Purdy, they're going to be just fine. Everyone's overreacting, calling him garbage, but it's like he just had one bad week.
If you put, like, a few of these together or something, I might be a little bit worried. Like, the Eagles right now have looked really bad their last 4 games. Like, obviously, no one's scared of them, but, like, you're going up against literally the other best team in the NFL. It was between the Niners and the Ravens at this point, and, like, they lost. And honestly, everyone has a bad game. Dak, he's had those kind of games. Like, every QB will have a bad game every now and then. I don't think he's a system QB. I think he's pretty good. And obviously, like, the Niners will be just fine in the playoffs, unfortunately, because we're going to need to go through them if we want to make it anywhere. But, I do have a little bit of a bone to pick with the NFL yet again because, and I know you do too, I was looking at the Sunday night game and I was like, surely it's between the Dolphins. So the Dolphins and Ravens are playing Sunday for the 1 seed. It's basically what that game is for the 1 seed in the AFC. And you would think that would be, like, one of the primetime games. I said, surely it's a primetime game, or surely we'll make it a primetime game. I would be wrong. It's at 12, and the Sunday night game is the Packers versus the Vikings, who the Vikings have lost TJ Hockenson, Kirk Cousins isn't playing, and obviously the Packers, no one really cares about them right now because they're basically
This is an NFC North matchup, but the thing is, it doesn't matter because the Lions have already won the NFC North. So I don't know how they got the Sunday night game, but
I don't either. And that, we don't spend a lot of time on that because, this has been happening all season. It's been disappointing. But also shout out to the Lions for winning their first division title in, like, 30 years, I think. Dan Campbell got the boys ready to play, and a little bit of a tight one, but they took the win, and I'm glad that they're happy about their win this week. They deserved it. They earned it. Like, go get your playoff spot and get ready to get crushed on Saturday.
Week 1. Or I'm sorry, round 1.
Round 1. And then this next week, I think.
When you play us at home. So
we're going to be mad.
You can have fun with that.
We better beat the Lions because we need this we need a confidence booster because our guys have been getting kicked in the mouth.
We need to smash the Lions, and then the week after that, smash the Commanders. Build some momentum going into the playoffs. None of this junk of where we dropped the last game to a team that's garbage. Just get out there and take care of business. Yeah, plenty to be ticked off about. So let's use that and build on something.
I'm gonna need the refs though to get their acts together about Micah. I mean, this is ridiculous. Yep. He's being held on every play. I mean, it's so obvious. There's that picture going around. He's being held by two guys at once. He even posted it. I mean, this is ridiculous. He's being held on every play and they're not calling it. And then it was not a roughing the passer call, but they called roughing the passer on him when he hit Tua. Like, it's kind of like they're out to get him. I kind of agree with Micah right now.
I just don't understand it. Like, it seems like the refs this year have been so flag happy about certain things, but then I guess for some reason they're not calling those blatant, obvious holds. I'm seeing a lot of false starts that aren't getting called, but then they're throwing PI flags on like every other play. But see, I just don't get what the pattern is here because they're flag happy about certain things, and then other things they just they say let them play or let it go or whatever.
I would have to agree. It's getting pretty ridiculous. Also, it's pretty obvious the refs want the Eagles to win every game. The Giants getting called for a couple things, like a false start when the center. It was clearly offsides on the Eagles. They call a false start because the center bobbed his head, which is that's not a false start. But it's getting pretty ridiculous, the refs and how they're affecting these games. Or not affecting the game when they should. And it's been really weird. Been a really weird year with the refs. But let's get it right on Saturday for Micah, please. I think the Lions-Cowboys game will be a good game, though. I don't know if it's going to be a blowout for us, but we need to win that game no matter what, just to prove to ourselves that we can beat a good team.
The Jacksonville Jaguars have been on a little bit of a recession lately. They started out of the gate hot. But then, unfortunately for them, this week they would drop a game to Tampa Bay, moving them down to 8-7.
Tampa's hot. I mean, Tampa's hot.
They are. They're really hot. They're probably gonna win the NFC South, most definitely. It's so. I mean, who knows what could happen these next 2 weeks.
I mean, but, I don't want to play them right now. They are looking a lot better than they've been looking. They're peaking at the right time. But Nick, is Trevor Lawrence the guy? I mean, he's been turning the ball over.
I mean, I don't know. He's
a turnover machine right now.
It's weird because he can only play half a season well. Because you think about last season, he was really good the second half of the season, but he was garbage the first half. This year, it's the complete polar opposite. He was great the first half of the season, and then he's been worse in the second half of the season. So they've got – I don't know what they have over there. They got to figure it out down there in Jacksonville.
Mean, what they got to figure out is when Jacksonville loses, Houston and Indianapolis just completely just wet the bed. They got to take advantage of these losses.
Just because – I think – we've talked about this maybe like twice before. It might have been like last week or 2 weeks ago. I don't remember when it was.
It happened 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but the Colts played the Falcons this week, and it's like, okay, you have no business losing to the Atlanta Falcons. Like, that's absolutely ridiculous. You're losing to Desmond Ridder, and Gardner Minshew has shown himself to be really, really good. Obviously, the Colts were missing Michael Pittman last week.
That's a big miss
because of the concussion that he sustained against the Pittsburgh Steelers earlier. But they had Jonathan Taylor back, so their offense should have looked a little bit better. But I mean, it's the Falcons. Like, y'all should have taken care of business there.
Yeah, they needed to capitalize this week because the Jags have the Panthers and the Titans left. So the Jags will probably still win.
Weren't expecting the Texans to come through though, because they were playing the red hot Cleveland Browns. And
CJ Stroud's not playing
at the helm.
Yeah, so it just it wasn't looking good for the Texans, but we definitely thought the Colts should have won. And they got beat pretty bad by Taylor Heineke. So I guess the NFC South's not decided yet. That'll be interesting to see what happens there.
I believe there's still a 1-game difference. Because I think
between New Orleans and Tampa. Atlanta.
Maybe because I believe Atlanta moved to 7-8 after beating the Colts, and the Tampa Bay moved to 8-7. So there's a 1-game difference.
Yeah, 1-game difference
between those 3 teams.
And then it looks like on the schedule for the Bucs, they have Saints and Panthers. So, anything could happen. Next week,
2 easy wins.
Next week's a big game for the Bucs because if they don't beat the Saints will take control of the division, I think. But it's pretty cool because I heard this stat today that this is the most teams that are still in it at this point since like 2004, I think. There's not very many teams that have been eliminated mathematically yet. I think like most of the NFL, the teams are still in the playoff hunt, in the playoff picture. Nothing's really been decided. There have been a few teams like us who have clinched a spot, but no seeding or anything like that's been decided yet. So these next 2 weeks are crucial.
I'm just looking at it. Of the 32 teams in the NFL, only 8 have been mathematically eliminated.
Yeah.
And so
that's 24 teams that are still fighting for it.
There's still plenty of teams going after it. Obviously, the AFC South, your top 3 teams are 8-7. It's for the AFC West, it's looking like the Chiefs are just going to finish business there, even though it's pretty close.
Yeah.
Obviously, the NFC East, it's still looking pretty close. We're still just 1 game back from Philly. And then, we've already talked about the NFC South. They're already pretty close there. But NFC West was clinched by the 49ers like weeks ago.
That one was decided. But the Rams are still in it, and so are the Seahawks.
But it is interesting that all these teams are still competing for a playoff spot. Obviously, there's going to be lots of teams that get eliminated next week. There's going to be some deciders, unfortunately, for teams.
I was going to say the last week, the Bills and Dolphins play. So the Bills would play the Patriots this week, and the Dolphins play the Ravens. So if the Dolphins lose and the Bills win this week, that week 18 will be for that division, Bills Dolphins. So there's some really close ones.
The Jets came out with Trevor Siemian, and he gets them a dub over the Washington Commanders.
What a game!
It was an interesting one. The Jets went up pretty early in that game. I want to say I think it was 20-0 at one point in favor of the Jets, and then the Commanders came all the way back and went ahead 28-27. And then it came down to a game-winning field goal by Greg the Leg. Trevor Siemian got it done in clutch time.
Yeah, if you're intrigued by that game, the Jets play Thursday night in prime time. You thought that you were done seeing the Jets in prime time. The last Thursday night game of the season, Browns-Jets, you could see Flacco go at it and probably absolutely just demolish the Jets. And the Commanders are like, I think they might be the worst defensive team in the NFL. I'm pretty sure they are. Like even the Panthers defense is better than the
They're
Commanders
pretty
right
bad.
now.
And then a big thing there, obviously Sam Howell, interception machine.
Yep.
Jacoby Brissett would come in and close out that game for Washington. Obviously he didn't do too much because they would still end up losing. But, we've got Washington in our sights. We're playing them in 2 weeks.
Week 18.
And getting a little bit of PTSD thinking about last year, if you remember. It was a freaking garbage throwaway game. Whatever, should have been an easy cleanup win to finish out the season.
Yep.
Roll right into the playoffs, and we end up, wetting the bed for no reason.
Well,
getting killed.
It's one of those things where even if it's already been decided what's happening, you gotta
bring it every week.
You gotta have that momentum. You're going into the playoffs. You need to win against a bad team, and it needs to be a pretty convincing win, like a take your starters out at halftime kind of win. because that's what we're going to need. But also that Week 18 game, depending on what Philly does, like that's a game that does still matter, because if the Eagles lose against the Giants that last week, like we would need to win out.
Well, because obviously we're both playing trash teams, but like we were saying with what happened to us last year, that could very well be the Eagles this year. So, we got to make sure that we don't take this Week 18 game for granted, but obviously that all starts with winning next week against the Lions.
I am seeing right now, it looks like the Week 18 Sunday games, or all the games, have not been time slotted, TBD for every game, Week 18. So I do appreciate that from the NFL. So it looks like all the big games will be prime time based on the scenarios and playoff implications when we get to Week 18. So Week 18 will be a good prime time weekend. All the games will be on Sunday, it looks like.
You can just get the teams out of there that aren't planned for anything. I mean, there was no reason for us to have to watch the Packers Vikings next week on prime time because they don't have a dog in it. So it's
nope. Like, the Packers still kind of do, but not really.
I mean, this is just who's going to
actually.
Yeah, whatever.
Viking. Okay, neither team has been like mathematically eliminated, but it's like they're not making it in kind of thing. So, but yeah, a lot of big stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks, and we'll keep you informed on all of it, of course, as we normally do.
Need the Cowboys to finish business, We're getting close to the end, but there's still 2 weeks to go. Can't take anything for granted, but let's not continue this downward spiral.
Agreed.
We've lost these last 2 weeks. Let's just clean it up and win these next 2 weeks. And just finish out the season strong. Even if the Eagles don't lose against the Giants Week 18, we still need to win these next 2 games. Just get the boys' confidence back up. Make sure we know, hey, we're still a good football team. We can still play. Just get some momentum going into the playoffs. Oh, so here's like to end our shows on Under Review. Brought you a quote from Adrian Peterson. He said, "When you don't give up, you cannot fail." And that's the truth. Just take that with you for this next week. Apply it to your life. And, thank you all for listening. So we'll see y'all later.
Thank you for listening. Happy holidays. And we'll see you next week here at Under Review.